For decades, Germany allowed its armed forces to shrink and decay, becoming a shadow of their former self. This wasn't simply due to poor management, it was the result of a complicated history. Germany had fought on the losing side in two devastating world wars in the last century.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Okay guys, we're going to be seeing a video today. All right, this is titled German huge military comeback. All right, so let's check out what the German military comeback looks like. Okay, so without further ado, please subscribe to the channel and let's check this video out.
For decades, Germany allowed its armed forces to shrink and decay, becoming a shadow of their former self. This wasn't simply due to poor management, it was the result of a complicated history. Germany had fought on the losing side in two devastating world wars in the last century, leaving much of Europe in ruins. After that, the country was split into East and West during the Cold War, which limited how its military could develop. On top of that, many Germans remained deeply wary of military power, remembering how it had led the country into disaster during World War II. When the Finnish defense forces, which I was a part of throughout the last 20 or so years, would train with our German counterparts, it had gotten so bad that German soldiers resorted to broomsticks in place of rifles, a stark illustration of the Bundeswehr's decline. In short, a military once famed for precision had become a synonym for dysfunction. Now, Germany is embarking on a course to become a regional military power once again, a transformation that is both reassuring and deeply unsettling to allies and adversaries alike. This transformation wasn't a sudden great idea. For years, voices warned that Germany's military was laughable, inadequate for a nation of its economic stature and global influence. As recently as a few years ago, reports painted a bleak picture: fighter jets grounded for lack of spare parts, attack helicopters deemed unsafe to fly, and submarines languishing in port, unable to put to sea. Considering that German companies produce much of the world's premier equipment, which we'll cover later, it really didn't need to be like this. In short, a military once renowned for its precision had become synonymous with dysfunction, its capabilities hollowed out by years of neglect and underfunding from governments more focused on appeasing Russia through gas and oil purchases, mistakenly believing this gave them leverage, rather than reinforcing their soft power with actual deterrence. The roots of this decline are deep and complex. From 1945 until the fall of the Berlin Wall, Germany's military was deliberately constrained. The horrors of World War II cast a long shadow, growing a powerful pacifist movement within the country. The division of Germany during the Cold War further complicated matters, with the Bundeswehr's role primarily defensive and integrated within NATO's posture against the USSR. Even after reunification in 1990, these constraints lingered. The 2+4 agreement, while guaranteeing Germany's sovereignty, still capped its armed forces at 370,000 active troops and prohibited the pursuit of nuclear weapons, limitations that, at the time, were largely welcomed by its European neighbors, eager to prevent a resurgence of German militarism. But that was before 2022. By the time Vladimir Putin unleashed his full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Germany's post-Cold War complacency had left its armed forces fragile, exposing big vulnerability at the heart of Europe and NATO. By late 2022, only a fraction of naval helicopters were operational, barely a third of fighter jets were flight-ready, less than half of infantry fighting vehicles were combat-capable, and a mere 3 of 6 submarines were deployable. For a nation that had once prided itself on its engineering prowess and military efficiency, it was a humiliating statement that its politics had become overly reliant on others to protect it. One can imagine how such reports were received in the Kremlin. If Germany's armed forces couldn't even maintain their own equipment, what threat could they possibly pose to Putin's expansionist ambitions? But the Kremlin miscalculated. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. First, Ukraine refused to collapse. Against all expectations, the Ukrainian people, fueled by a fierce determination to defend their homeland, fought back with unexpected tenacity, exposing the surprising limitations of the Russian military. The West provided vital, though sometimes slow support, but it was the Ukrainian will to resist that shattered Putin's initial plans for a swift victory. Second, the invasion served as a rude awakening for Germany and many other European nations, jolting it out of its decades-long slumber. Of all Europe's major powers, it is perhaps Germany that has responded with the greatest sense of urgency and determination from the very low start to their support of Ukraine. Initially ridiculed for then-Chancellor Olaf Scholz's offer to send Ukraine helmets while Russia was sending missiles into apartment buildings, Germany has transformed into one of the largest providers of advanced weaponry and financial aid. A dramatic turnaround that reflects a profound shift in its strategic thinking. Third, the invasion prompted two historically neutral nations, Sweden and my own Finland, to abandon their long-held policies and seek the protection of NATO membership, further isolating Russia and strengthening the alliance's northeastern flank. In the months following the invasion, Germany needed to adjust quickly. It severed its reliance on Russian gas, a painful but necessary step forced by both the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines and a surge of public outrage against the cozy relationships that had long existed between German politicians and Vladimir Putin's regime. With one grim example being former Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, who is now essentially a Russian oligarch. Germany also surged military aid to Ukraine, becoming its second-largest financial and arms backer after the United States. More importantly, Germany's very capable defense industry has shown that it still makes incredible military technology, even if its nation has long fed its scraps to maintain its research and development. Some of the most underrated systems delivered to Ukraine include German Gepards, which are shooting down Shahed drones and missiles by the hundreds every week, German-made Helsing drones, Marder IFVs, and the still very capable Panzerhaubitze 2000. We'll release an episode on German-made military technology the same day as this video, so be sure to find the link to that in the description or comments. As recently as this week, German Defense Chief General Carsten Breuer stated that NATO must be prepared for possible conflict with Russia by 2029, citing Russia's rapid weapons buildup as evidence of potential aggression towards European nations, in particular the Baltics, Poland, and Romania. Clearly, Moscow is preparing for far more than a war of attrition in Ukraine. A future clash with NATO is no longer a remote possibility but a tangible threat, demanding a robust and credible response. And for that to happen, Europe's largest and most populated economy has to be an integral part of that. And this time, Germany seems determined not to be caught in the headlights again. The once dominant land army in Europe has awoken. Berlin is embarking on a full-scale military transformation of a scale that Putin, and frankly much of Europe, never expected to witness, or for that matter, match. Germany is the largest economy in Europe. With it comes a lot of financial muscle and heavy industry that only really France is an equal to. In 2024, even before Friedrich Merz went into office, Germany overtook India and became the fourth largest spender on defense worldwide, right behind the US, Russia, and China. Last year alone, Germany poured nearly $78 billion into its military, a massive 28% jump in just 1 year. And here's the kicker, that's still only 1.9% of GDP, meaning there's plenty of room to ramp it up further. After years of underfunding and equipment failures, the tide is finally turning. In early 2025, Germany's parliament approved a historic measure to exempt defense spending from the country's strict debt rules, unlocking a massive $500 billion budget for military and infrastructure investments in the coming years. For perspective, all EU member states combined spent just $270 billion on defense in 2023, highlighting the sheer scale of Germany's commitment. Then in April 2025, Germany triggered the EU's emergency clause, clearing the way for rapid increases in defense spending across the entire bloc. This move could potentially unlock over €1 trillion in German-led defense investments, reshaping Europe's security landscape and injecting much-needed capital into European industries that, As we explored in our series on the impact of Trump's policies
Wow.
on American defense exports, now watched by over 2 million people, have long been outsourced to the US and other allies. What's abundantly clear is this: Germany is finally stepping into the role that many in Europe had long hoped it would assume, that of an economic powerhouse willing to shoulder serious defense.
Okay, this is really interesting. Okay, from this video, okay, we can see that Germans are finally assuming their responsibility as the richest country in Europe and also like ensuring protection of Europe. Like this is really a good move. I'm really happy that the Bundeswehr are getting recognition financially. Okay, this is really good. You guys, this is really good, okay?
Responsibilities. The days of Germany enriching Russia while turning a blind eye to its aggressive behavior are coming to an end. Germany's military shopping list now includes not only advanced tanks and submarines, but also cutting-edge electronic warfare systems, sophisticated satellite technology, AI-enabled drones, long-range artillery, modern infantry fighting vehicles, and robust cyber defenses. Not only that, but Germany is fundamentally changing its views on nuclear weapons, with Chancellor Merz openly discussing the possibility of deploying the French or British nuclear umbrella to Germany. While Germany has underinvested in its armed forces for a long time, it is not building from a non-existing base. 1.5% of Europe's largest economy is still a lot of cash. The German army
Wow.
operates approximately 300 Leopard 2 main battle tanks, including the advanced new 2A7 models. Infantry fighting capabilities are bolstered by around 330 Puma fighting vehicles, with plans to upgrade them to the S1 standard. Additionally, about 360 of the older Marder remain in service, many of which are being modernized. Armored mobility is further supported by over 400 Boxer armored personnel carriers. Artillery assets include at least 130 of the Panzerhaubitze self-propelled guns and 33 Mars II guided rocket launchers. The Luftwaffe's combat fleet currently includes around 140 Eurofighter Typhoon, which form the backbone of Germany's air superiority and strike capabilities. To modernize the force and uphold NATO nuclear sharing commitments, Germany is acquiring F-35s to replace its aging Tornado fleet, with deliveries set to begin in 2026. Air defense is also undergoing major upgrades, with more new systems such as the Iris-T for medium-range protection and Patriot systems for long-range coverage.
Guys.
In addition, the highly mobile
Wow.
Skyranger 30, mounted on Boxer armored vehicles, with 19 units ordered and an option for 30 more, is being introduced to strengthen short-range defenses as part of a broader effort to build a layered air defense network to counter drones. At the same time, Germany is enhancing its strategic airlift capabilities through its fleet of Airbus Atlas aircraft, now approaching its full complement of 53 units, capable of both tactical and long-range transport. The German Navy operates a fleet of approximately 65 commissioned ships, including 11 frigates, 5 corvettes, and 6 submarines. The total displacement of the Navy stands at around 220,000 tons, placing it as the 15th strongest in the world and 5th in Europe in this metric. Notably, Germany is investing in the development of new air defense frigates, each with a displacement of 10,000 tons, to replace the older Sachsen-class ships. As mentioned earlier, if you'd like a deeper dive into what Germany's highly capable military industry produces, we've released a dedicated video on that today. You'll find the link in the description and comments. Even with extreme spending increases, significant challenges remain, particularly in the areas of personnel and munitions. Germany's active military currently stands at around 180,000 personnel. The goal is to increase this number to 200,000 by 2031, while also expanding its reserves from 60,000 to 200,000. This would give Germany a potential wartime force of approximately 400,000 troops, which would give Central Europe an army well over 1 million strong if you include only Poland and France in the equation. In a sign that both Germany and its allies are moving beyond the long shadow of the Second World War, Berlin has already deployed 5,000 troops to Lithuania as part of NATO's Baltic reinforcement efforts. In another milestone, German naval forces fired live rounds in the Red Sea in 2024, the first such combat action by the German Navy since the Second World War, underscoring a shift toward a more active and accepted role in the collective defense of Europe. Now, you may ask, Thomas, what is the bottom line here? For me, in a country historically closely aligned with Germany, even through bad times, it is great to see Germany finally let go of the shackles carried by the sins of its forefathers. Putin and Europe's adversaries now faces a Germany fundamentally transformed, a nation rapidly evolving from NATO's perceived Russia-dependent link to one of its strongest and most reliable pillars, and with it Europe's largest industry, economy, and population are suddenly a vital part of defending us all, rather than a wannabe pacifist that wants to thrive off Russian gas and oil for economic gain and NATO for its defense. Germany is back, and I think I can say with certainty that most of Europe is happy about it. To our German viewers, ein schönes Wochenende. To the rest of you, have a great weekend, and be sure to catch our video on German military technology, or else I might have to judge you in a quiet Finnish way.
You guys, this is an interesting video. I'm glad to see this video, okay? I am happy that they're getting some financial support, like a lot of it. Okay, this is really interesting, all right? They are also upgrading on every level. Every level, you guys. They are upgrading on every level, okay? I really cannot wait to see them grow into a great leader and also a strong protection for the entire Europe. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for suggesting. See you guys on my next one. Bye.